excitement, more danger, and more adventure than ever before. Saturday, Cars 2, on Pearl's weekend blockbuster.
A second day's stock market rally after the Easter break. Prices of private domestic properties at a record high. And guilty verdict for the surviving bombing suspects in the Boston Marathon attack.
Good evening. Hong Kong stocks continue to surge for a second day as mainland investors rush to buy shares on the local exchange. Again, the daily investment quota for mainlanders buying stocks here under the Shanghai Hong Kong Stock Connect scheme was used up. The Hang Seng Index ended 2.7% higher today at 26,944, the highest closing level since January 2008. Financial Secretary John Tsang has called on investors to remain cautious, though he doesn't see any risk of a market bubble burst for now. Owen Fung reports.
With the stock market opening at 28,000 points, but then going through great fluctuations later during the day, many investors were transfixed on share prices outside this bank. This lady says she's very nervous because she invested her entire pension into stocks. She says she doesn't want to sell yet, but is afraid the prices will plunge. I thought the surge in the market won't last for another day, and I've already sold a lot of my shares, this investor says. Financial Secretary John Tsang says there are various reasons for the fluctuations in the stock markets. Among the causes, a build-up in demand over the Easter break, as well as an influx of funds from the mainland following Beijing's decision to allow mutual funds to invest in the markets here via the Shanghai Hong Kong Stock Connect scheme. While Tang believes there are still no signs of a crash, he warns investors to be cautious. For the second day in a row, the southbound trading under Shanghai Hong Kong Stock Connect used up the daily investment quota since the scheme began last November. The financial chief said the government will consider raising the cap, though he did not specify a timetable. Analysts say many factors have led to the surge in interest from the mainland. Apart from mutual funds being allowed to buy Hong Kong shares under the scheme, they believe the large valuation gap between A shares and H shares is also driving mainland investors to the local markets. Owen Fung, TVB News.
The prices of private domestic properties reached yet another record high in February. That's according to the latest figures from the Rating and Valuation Department. The overall private domestic price index stood at 291.1, 2.32% higher than the month before and nearly up 20% year-on-year. The biggest surge in prices was recorded among medium to small flats of between 430 and 752 square feet, up by more than 2.5% from January. Private home rentals also hit an 11-month high, with the index standing at 167.8 in February compared with 167 the month before. And that's up 8.26% compared with February last year.
Turning overseas now, a jury has convicted Dzhokhar Tsarnaev of all 30 counts he faced, stemming from the 2013 bombing of the Boston Marathon. Now, the same 12 people must decide whether the 21-year-old lives or dies. James Aiken reports.
It took a jury 11 hours of deliberations over 2 days to find Dzhokhar Tsarnaev guilty, a verdict that was practically a foregone conclusion. Jurors heard how the surviving member of a pair of ethnic Chechen brothers planted homemade pressure cooker bombs that tore through the crowd at the finish line of the famous race. 3 people were killed and more than 260 injured in the most shocking attack on U.S. soil since September 11, 2001. The courtroom was packed with survivors of the attack, including Karen Brassard, whose left leg was badly injured by one of the bombs.
He was all in. He's a grown man and made choices knowing what the outcome could be and knowing what the consequence would be, and he made the choice to go ahead.
Tsarnaev's lawyers opened the trial by bluntly admitting it was him who planted one of the bombs and 3 days later shot dead a police officer, kicking off a day of chaos in Boston. Prosecutors portrayed Tsarnaev and his brother Tamerlan as full partners in a plan to punish the U.S. for its wars in Muslim countries. Tamerlan died when he was shot by police and run over by his brother during a chaotic getaway attempt days after the bombing. Throughout the trial, Tsarnaev had shown little emotion. Now that he's been found guilty, even more is at stake in the next phase of the federal trial. The trial will decide whether to sentence him to death or life in prison without possibility of parole.
I think he should rot in jail here so we don't have copycat cowards perpetrating, inflicting injury on innocent civilians like he and his brother did here.
In the meantime, the guilty verdict provides justice for the victims, but little closure.
We're all going to move on with our lives, and we're all going to get back to some sense of normalcy, hopefully, when this is all done. So closure, I guess, I don't think so, only because it's forever a part of our life.
James Aiken, TVB News.
Following the fatal shooting of an unarmed black man in North Charleston, South Carolina, that was captured on video, the city's mayor announced all police officers must wear body cameras. But questions still remain on the details of the killing that saw the white police officer involved charged with murder. Alan Buckner reports.
The video shows 33-year-old Officer Michael Slager fire 8 times at a fleeing 50-year-old Walter Scott before Scott slumps to the ground. The man who shot the video said he started filming the incident on his mobile phone after he heard the sound of a taser gun. Faden Santana said Officer Slager already had Scott pinned to the ground.
It was maybe 2 seconds. I don't know if he felt the police, tackle him and take him down. Like I say, I didn't witness that. But the officer was on top of Mr. Scott, and like I say, he had control of the situation.
Santana said after he heard that Slager claimed the shooting was in self-defense, he decided to turn the video over to Scott's family. Scott's older brother says police told him Walter was pulled over for a broken brake light and a scuffle ensued in which his brother tried to take Slager's taser.
I pretty much lost it because I couldn't believe that a traffic stop could go from a stop to a taser to a shot, being killed. I just couldn't believe it. I believe when at this was shown on the video, I believe he was running away because he was being tased. He didn't want to be tased anymore.
An attorney for the Scott family said they plan to sue. North Charleston's mayor has announced all police officers will be equipped with body cameras going forward. Demonstrators gathered outside City Hall to protest against what they feel is an almost all-white police force that targets the largely black community.
This is an operation to keep a community down, oppressed, brutalized, silent, and now we are awake and we are screaming, no more! No more! No more! No more!
Officer Slager, seen here at an earlier court appearance, also had a 2013 complaint against him that he used excessive force against another unarmed black man who claimed he was tased without good reason. Alan Buckner, TVB News.
A suburban New York woman was sentenced yesterday to 20 years to life in prison for poisoning her 5-year-old son with salt. The court heard that 27-year-old Lacey Spears blogged about her son's mysterious sickness so she could bask in the social media attention. Prosecutors said the mother force-fed high concentrations of sodium through the boy's stomach tube. The boy died last year. Spears displayed no emotion at sentencing. The judge said he wasn't imposing the maximum 25-year sentence because Spears was obviously mentally ill.
U.S. Secretary of Defense Ashton Carter has arrived in South Korea for a 3-day visit to the country as part of his first Asian tour since he took office in February. The Pentagon chief is scheduled to meet South Korean President Park Geun-hye and his South Korean counterpart, Han Min-koo, on Friday. He's expected to reiterate the strong US commitment to South Korea's security and discuss ways to increase joint capabilities to cope with threats from North Korea. Carter said that the latest test firing of short-range missiles by North Korea is fresh evidence that the Korean peninsula is a potential flashpoint for conflict. He is also expected to discuss the Obama administration's plans to push ahead with the rebalance to the Asia-Pacific that was announced in 2012. Iran's president is warning Saudi Arabia and its allies that their airstrikes campaign in Yemen is a mistake. Hassan Rouhani is calling for a halt to the strikes, targeting Shiite rebels who have seized much of the country to allow for talks on resolving the crisis. Both Tehran and the rebel Houthis deny Iran is arming them. On Wednesday, Iran dispatched a naval destroyer and another logistic vessel to waters near Yemen as the United States stepped up weapons supplies to the Saudi-led coalition. Meanwhile, the first boatloads of emergency medical aid has reached the South Yemeni port city of Aden, which relief workers say is facing a humanitarian catastrophe. The World Health Organization says more than 640 people have been killed in the fighting since mid-March.
A French television network has been hacked by people claiming allegiance to the Islamic State group. The attack began at around 10 p.m. on Wednesday. The hackers knocked out 11 channels belonging to TV5 Monde and took over the broadcaster's website and social media accounts. The message on the website read IMIS, along with a banner of a group which called itself Cyber Caliphate. That was later replaced by a message saying that the website was undergoing maintenance. The hackers also posted documents purporting to be the identity cards of relatives of French soldiers involved in anti-Islamic State operations. The television network has now restored its signal but can only broadcast recorded programs. Still ahead in our news tonight. An update on the plastic shopping bag levy extension scheme. A 2-month jail sentence for a New World First ferry captain. And objects from what's believed to be a wartime sunken boat spotted off Potoi Island.
Its true value is priceless.
The terracotta army was forgotten about for centuries.
Treasures are everywhere.
The whole seabed is littered with shipwrecks. Very good news if you're a treasure hunter.
Friday, The Treasure Hunters at 9:30 on Pearl.
This is Planter 39 Phytocaffeine Shampoo. For some reason, it's especially popular with women over 40, with over 10 million bottles sold in Germany alone. To find out why, get down to Manning's. Quick! Planter 39 Phytocaffeine Shampoo. For the hair you really, really want.
The 26th Macau Arts Festival with the theme Encounter features over 100 performances and activities, including dance performances, theatrical plays, music concerts, and many other variety shows and exhibitions. Tickets are now available through the Macau Ticketing Network. Reserve your tickets now. Macau Arts Festival. This May, encounter art your way.
The time now is 7:43. The time check was brought to you by Seiko.
And we're back tonight with more local news. The government has warned retailers not to offer customers rebates for the 50-cent plastic shopping bag levy. Secretary for the Environment, Wong Kam Sing, said it's against the law and added there would be no extension of the grace period for outlets to get used to the new regulations. Rani Samtani reports.
The second phase of the plastic bag levy scheme, which covers all retail outlets, came into effect just over a week ago. But shops and consumers are still getting used to the new rules. Secretary for the Environment, Wong Kam Sing, said the government has issued 18 verbal warnings so far.
They are mainly about the food that are in a sealed packaging or non-food stuff.